Welcome. My name's George Taven. I'm the program manager for the Connections program, and I'm here to welcome you to your next presentation here by Syed Soharwardy, who is an Imam in Calgary, and will be talking to you on a session that he likes to refer to as Islam 101. I'm hoping that you're here with an open mind and you're here to learn a little bit more about what the Islamic and Muslim community is all about, and hopefully you're here as Connection students for the same reason that you're here to learn about all these other presentations that you've been a part of, which is to learn about the issues around diversity, stereotyping, discrimination, prejudice, and racism, and how you can make a difference in our communities, in our schools, by becoming allies and trying to eliminate all these issues around diversity and promoting anti-racism. And you're about to listen to Syed, who has some incredible information for you that will hopefully demystify a little bit about the Islamic and Muslim communities and hopefully break down these stereotypes and discriminations that build up over misinformation and communication. So welcome to the session. I hope you're ready for what he's about to say, and we'll come out of it feeling empowered to become stronger allies in our community and to the people that we encounter throughout our daily lives. Thank you and enjoy.
I'm Carrie Shukenik, and I've been involved in with Connections for the last about 8 or 9 years, where I have been coordinating out at on-site and as well as doing some of the curriculum. And I'm here today to visit with Imam Syed.
Thank you very much, Carrie. My name is Syed Soharwardy. I'm the founder and the chairperson for the Islamic Supreme Council of Canada, as well as Muslims Against Terrorism. And right now we are in our mosque, which is Green Dome Mosque in Calgary Northeast. And the charity is called Al-Madina Calgary Islamic Assembly. And welcome to our mosque. And we are 6 feet apart.
So we are here at the mosque, and I have a question for you. If I was coming in and I wasn't coming to meet you, could I come into the mosque and take a tour or go around?
Yes, anybody can come to the mosque. Mosque is a public place. It's a place of worship, of course, and there are certain etiquettes for a mosque that any person, man or woman, when they enter in the mosque, they have to dress modestly, and if they are going to pray in the mosque, then man or woman both have a requirement that they have to do ablution, which called wudu in Arabic language. So most of the people make their ablution at home and then come for prayer. But in the mosque, anybody can come. There are certain times of prayers, so we'll discuss that later on. But mosque is always open. In Arabic, it's called masjid. So somebody say masjid, mosque is the same thing. And masjid has 3 main areas, or maybe more than 3 areas. A men's prayer hall is separate where the men enters. Women's prayer hall is separate where the women do enter. And then the ablution area, and plus library and offices and other community center. Those are the different facilities. But these are the 3 main areas in every mosque. Men's area, women's area, and ablution area for men and women separate.
Just a historic question. When was the first mosque in Canada built and where?
Yes, Muslims do have a big history in North America, especially in Canada. The first mosque in Canada was basically the foundation was laid down in 1932, but it opened in 1936 in Edmonton. And sometimes I get surprised. In 1932, a Muslim scholar from India came all the way from India to Canada in Alberta and laid the foundation of this Al-Rashid Mosque in Edmonton. His name was Shah Abdul Alim Siddiqui. And then in 1936, when mosque was opened, another different scholar came from India, and he opened up the mosque. His name was Maulana Ilyas. So there's quite a bit of history of Muslims in Canada, and Al-Rashid Mosque still exists. Government of Alberta has declared that original mosque as a heritage site, and they have moved the entire mosque in the museum in Edmonton, and Al-Rashid Mosque is now a very big mosque in Edmonton.
And you can go visit it and tour it at Fort Edmonton Park.
Exactly.
Can you tell us the difference between the terms Islam and Muslim?
Islam is a religion. Muslims, those who follow that religion. Just like Christianity is religion, Christians are the followers of Christianity. Judaism is a religion. Jews are the followers of Judaism. Similarly, Islam is a religion, and Muslims are the followers of Islam.
You are an Imam. What does that mean, and what role do you have?
Just like in Christian faith, there are reverends, pastors. The Muslim clergy person is called Imam. Imam basically means the leader. And there are different categories of Imam, right? Just like a pastor, and then in Catholic faith, people call father, right? So it's similarly in Islamic faith also, Imam is generally known as a person of clergy, but there are different categories. One is called Mufti. Mufti is the one like who can also issue the edicts, jurisprudence. And then there are called Sheikh. In Arabic, Middle Eastern part of, generally they are recognized as Sheikh rather than Muftis. And Sheikh is the same as Imam. But worldwide, generally in Islam, the clergy people are recognized as Imam. Imam is the one who leads the prayers. Imam is the one who conducts the marriages, funerals. Just like in Christian faith, the pastor or reverend conduct all the religious activities. The Imam does the same thing in a Muslim mosque or in Muslim communities. When I became Imam, basically my whole ancestors are Imams, were Imams. And my father was an Imam, although he was a school teacher as well as an Imam. My grandfather was a Mufti, which is the higher than an Imam in Indian Kashmir. And through blood, I'm related to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. So my ancestry goes all the way to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and all of them were Imams or Muftis and Shayukh in Islamic faith. When I was raised as a child, I had my father was Imam, and so we learn our Islamic faith right at home from our childhood. But in Pakistan, where I was born and raised, my father had a Islamic institution called Darul Ulum Soharwardy. Me and my brothers, we were all educated first in that Islamic institution in Karachi, and after the graduation from that Islamic environment or madrasa, then I started my academic or what you call secular studies or science studies. So I became an Imam in the mosque in Karachi when I was only 17 years old. I was in high school, and my father used to travel quite a bit. So in his absence, I used to lead the Friday prayers. I used to lead the 5 prayers. I used to teach in the Quran classes. So I became Imam when I was only 17. And my father tells me he became Imam when he was only 15, because his father passed away when he was only 15. So the community chose my father as an Imam, and they said, yeah, he's a child, but he has reached the age of adolescence. It's one of the conditions of Imam is that you have to have an age of adolescence. And then, of course, the education. So my father became Imam at the age of 15. I became an Imam at the age of 17.
And when you moved to Canada, were you Imam right away, or did you go through a process?
No, I mean, there is no certification of Imam in Canada. So if somebody is qualified in a foreign country, that person is considered by the community as an Imam, and the government of Canada accepts it. But definitely in every mosque, the Imam has to be quite, educated, has gone through the university education system where he has or she has earned the Islamic education degree, and then you became an Imam.
I heard you say something about women being involved in the clergy. Are women allowed to be Imams?
No, women are allowed to be a person of clergy. And when I say person of clergy means they can also go and teach people about Islam. They can also go and talk about jurisprudence of Islam, what Quran says, what Prophet says, peace be upon him. So in that sense, there are lots of women around the Muslim world. If you go back to the history, the Prophet's own wife, Aisha, peace be upon her, she was the person of clergy in a sense. She used to teach the male companions of the Prophet after Prophet passed away. Prophet's daughter, Hazrat Fatima, peace be upon her, she was a very knowledgeable person, and she was able to guide people and the families and the women about Islam. So in that sense, but when it comes to 5 obligatory congregational prayers, the women can perform their prayers separately, but men, when they are combined in the mosque, the man has to be the Imam who leads the congregational prayers. But women can also have a female leading them in education and jurisprudence and female only prayers, then female can lead. What Islam forbids, a mixed gathering during the prayer, men and women, just like in Christian church, if you go, men and women are sitting next to each other. Because our prayers are very different, because we are constantly moving up and down. So because of the privacy of a female, they have a separate section, and the man leads the prayer.
So there's a lot of misconceptions and stereotypes in society about Muslims.
Yeah.
And you started an organization of Muslims against terrorism. Would you care to elaborate and explain?
Yeah, it's a very fascinating story. Back in '97, there were some Americans, they were touring Malaysia, and there was a news all of a sudden came out that some people, Muslims, according to the media, have kidnapped those Americans and took them to southern Philippines, and they are asking ransom for it. And I was shocked, and I said, how an innocent people, regardless of what they believe, what they do not believe, a Muslim can kidnap them and ask for ransom for them. So then I established Muslims Against Terrorism in 1998, right here in Calgary. And after the tragedy of 9/11, 2001, it became a worldwide phenomenon. It spread it out in more than 23 countries. Muslims Against Terrorism, basically, my intention is and was that terrorism has nothing to do with Islam, but that there are some Muslims who are reading Quran, who look like Muslim, pray like Muslim, and they are killing innocent Jews or Christians or atheists or agnostics. No, we cannot do that, because this is a crime in Islam, that a person can take an innocent life. I mean, we are not even allowed to take life on animal, except for food. It is absolutely a crime in Islam. So when I heard that people are kidnapping people and destroying property and asking ransom, I stood up and I said, no, we need to stand up, because there is no such thing in Quran. There is no such thing in the teachings of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Muslims have never done these kind of things. And all of a sudden these thugs, popped up from Afghanistan or some parts of the Middle East. They call themselves Muslim, but we don't believe them they are Muslims.
And why did you do the MultiFaith walk against violence?
Yeah, in 2008, I walked across the country from Halifax to Victoria. It took almost 7 months, 6,500 kilometers. I had been thinking about this walk for a long time, but my wife was not, getting agreed with me that I should go and walk because my children were small at that time. But finally, I was keep on insisting, and finally she agreed. So then I went with my volunteers, and the intention was that there were so many bad things was going on in the name of Islam. And when I heard that the domestic violence is on the rise in not just Muslim families, but in broader human families. And when I heard that Alberta has the highest rate of domestic violence in Canada, I said we need to do something about it. So my walk was not about just against terrorism, but also domestic violence, elder abuse, animal abuse, environment abuse. It created good awareness about my faith in Canada. And honestly saying, this walk changed my perspective about Canada. I saw Canada on my 2 feet, and it's a beautiful country, it's a wonderful country, and it gave me a very different perspective that how blessed we are to be in Canada. And then I reached out to various communities. I went through reserves, natives reserves. I went through different cities, rural Canada, urban Canada. And people had asked me questions about Islam because a lot of bad things were going on, and still people are committing those bad things in the name of Islam. So they asked me very poking questions, and then I explained to them. So I think my walk not only helped the Muslims in Canada for a broader Canadian population to know what Islam stands for and what Islam does not stand for, but also created awareness about the domestic violence and elder abuse. I met many families who were suffering from domestic violence, and they shared their personal stories with me. It's a very long story, but I get to know a lot of Canadians, and I was very well received in all parts of Canada. And I was shockingly, happily surprised because back in 2008, if you remember, in Quebec, there was a commission which is called Reasonable Accommodation Commission. They were going different parts of Quebec, and they were listening everybody, what is reasonable to accommodate these minorities who are bringing their culture, their beliefs, they are influencing Canadian Western culture. So, and there was quite a rise of Islamophobia, especially in Quebec and broader Canada. So when I entered in Quebec from New Brunswick, I was very nervous, honestly saying. Mm-hmm. I was thinking somebody's going to come and hit me. Somebody's going to come and say, oh, you don't belong here, you get out and go back to your country. But I was so shockingly, happily surprised that across from Halifax all the way to Victoria, where I was welcomed most was Quebec. Although I did not speak French, I did have a French brochure, and I went to the rural. They asked poking questions. But those poking questions are absolutely legitimate. Those are good questions. I think we need to stand up what ISIS is doing, what Taliban at that time was doing, what Al-Qaeda was doing, what Boko Haram in Nigeria and Al-Shabaab in Somalia. These are a bunch of thugs. They are using my faith to project their political ideology. They are using my religion to profess what they believe in violence. It has nothing to do with violence. My father never taught me that we hate Christians and Jews. I mean, we in Pakistan, where I was born and raised, we had Christian Pakistanis, we had Hindus Pakistanis, we had very diverse environment. And being an Imam's child in our own home, we had Christian Pakistanis who used to come and eat with us in my home. We used to play together. So I never saw that hate which I saw here and what I saw in Middle East and Afghanistan. That's why we have to stand up. I think it is a Muslim's duty to stand up against those kind of people who are doing domestic violence or terrorism. Jihad has nothing to do with terrorism. Jihad is a very different understanding.
And how could our students help be an ally in this and to raise the awareness?
I think the students can do one thing, that they should learn, they should talk to somebody who can explain them Islam the way it has been practiced throughout 14th century overwhelming majority of Muslims. Yes, there has been some pockets of bad incidents. There has been some bad rulers in Islamic history, no doubt about it. There has been some cruelty in certain parts carried out by certain Muslim rulers. But a broader Muslim community, right now 1.6 billion Muslims around the world, overwhelming majority, 99.9%, they don't believe what some of ISIS believes or Al-Qaeda believes or Boko Haram believe. They absolutely fed up with these whole bunch of criminals. And then look at this. ISIS has killed more Muslims than any other non-Muslim might have killed Muslims. ISIS, Al-Qaeda and Taliban and these people are kidnapping Muslims, killing Muslims because they hate peace-loving Muslims. An overwhelming majority of Muslims can coexist with Christians and Jews or agnostic or atheist, whatever they believe, whatever their traditions are. We have lived in peace together throughout centuries, and we can live in future as well. So a student can do one thing, learn about Islam. We do not believe in terrorism. We do not believe in segregation against women, or women are not considered as equal. Those are absolutely against Islam teachings.
So while you were on your multi-faith walk, you said there were many people that asked poking questions.
Yeah.
What was the hardest question to answer?
The hardest question was that in Afghanistan at that time and in Iraq and other places, there were people doing crimes in the name of Islam. What was hardest for me is to explain to them that their actions are un-Islamic. Now, the difficulty was that people do not read Quran. I'm talking non-Muslims, right? Mm-hmm. General Canadian population. They don't know what Quran says. They do not read Quran. They do not know how Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, lived. So in order to convince them, then I had to give them some practical examples that how we have lived. This is not what is this. So there were some political issues because we know that Islam did not start 40 years ago. Islam started 14 centuries ago. Mm-hmm. And we as a Muslim believe that even Islam started from Prophet Adam, and Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, informed or gave the teachings what Jesus Christ, peace be upon him, said, what Moses, peace be upon him, said, what Noah and David and Solomon, all these biblical prophets have said, that there is one God and worship only God. So Islam from Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, if you look at it, is 14 centuries. Now these Taliban just came after the Afghan war. Why there was no Muslim terrorism word used by the society before? So they were created at that time, and they were supported, funded, trained by United States to fight against Soviet Union. So these bunch of thugs were drug lords, criminals, and they were recruited by US to fight against Soviet Union. They fought against Soviet Union, and when the United States stopped their money, they turned their guns towards the United States. So I had to explain this political background or reason for these bunch of thugs who are using Islamic concept of jihad to raise, to create hate against non-Muslims. And then I had to go to in history, explain how Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, why Prophet did not do what these Taliban are doing. Why the companions of Prophet did not do what these Al-Qaeda and Boko Haram and ISIS had been doing. They never did these kind of things. And then I went through history and explained to them how the companions treated during even wars. Yes, there were wars during the time of Prophet, but in those wars had a lot of ethics. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, taught us 14 centuries ago that during war, even when you are at war, and Muslim never waged war against any other nation until they were attacked. So Muslims have fought war in defense. So when you are at war, Prophet said, never cut green trees. Do not contaminate water. Do not destroy the places of worship of any religion. Do not chase the elders, old people. Do not kill women and children. These are the guidelines of the Prophet for war. How they can put bomb here and bomb there and kill innocent people randomly? This is absolutely wrong. So when I teach them, people get very surprised. They say, yeah, we did not know this thing. I say, yes, that's what Islam is. not what ISIS is doing, not what Al-Qaeda is doing. So they understood, and believe me, not a single person said, I don't understand what you're saying. When you explain to them, take some time, explain to them. I mean, Canadians are very reasonable people.
Well, and it's history across the world.
Yeah.
There's always been individuals or groups that take advantage or change
exact.
things, right? There's a lot of misconceptions and stereotypes about the role of women in Islam and the clothing that they're forced to wear and whether or not they are considered equal.
Yeah.
Could you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's true in several parts of the world, that women are not considered as equal to men. Saudi Arabia just a couple of years ago allowed women can drive. My question is, if Saudi Arabia did not allow women to drive just 2-3 years ago, Islam did not change. The Saudis have changed. So Islam does not forbid women cannot drive. Islam says, yes, women can drive too. So it is basically the culture, male dominant culture. In Afghanistan, women have to completely cover from head to toes, like those tent-like burqas, right? Those are absolutely cultural thing. It has nothing to do with Islam. Islam requires from men and women both to dress modestly. That's it. What is an additional thing for women is to cover their head. That's the only additional thing. Otherwise, face covering is not a requirement in Islam. It's basically culture or personal choice. As far as the equality is concerned, in the Quran there is a very clear verse, and I'm going to read in Arabic, so just for reference. Quran says, "Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum." The more honorable, the most honorable among you is the one who is more righteous among you. Righteousness, honesty, that is the criteria of who is better or who is superior, not gender-based superiority. There are two verses in the Holy Quran that generally people misinterpret. One is verse is that ar-rijalu alayhinna daraja, that a man has a one rank higher than women, and that's the misinterpretation of this verse, and I'm going to explain the reason what it means. And there is another verse that ar-rijalu qawwamuna ala nisa, man is power over women. This is in context of husband and wife relationship. Basically, this is not that man is a supervisor of, or husband is supervisor of wife, or man has more power over wife, or man has more authority over wife. Absolutely not. In Islam's family system, what is Islam's family system is that man or husband or father is on the hook to bring groceries, to pay the mortgage, to provide the sustenance, to provide all the expenses. So man has responsibility of taking care of his wife and the children. Woman has no responsibility except to make sure that she remains loyal to her husband. Of course, she should not be having a relationship with anybody else. And she has the responsibility to raise kids with as a good human being, because kids are more closer to a mother than father. In Islam, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was asked, who has more right on me? A man asked. Prophet said, your mother has more right on you. He asked again. After that, Prophet said, your mother. He asked third time, oh God's messenger, who has more right? Prophet said, your mother. Then when he asked fourth time, he says, your father. So because children are always associated or connected with mom, she is the first school for their children. Father comes afterwards. So in Quran, there is no gender-based superiority. It is the responsibility of men. If women does not want to work, Islam allows women to work. There's no reason. But men cannot force wife go and work and get the money. Islam does not allow. Islam, man has to work, man has to earn and fulfill the needs of the family. And that's what people misinterpret. I share one my personal story. When we were new in Canada, more than 27 years ago. So I was my children were very small. My son was only 3 years old. So we were walking in the Northland Mall, And in our neighborhood, there was a Muslim brother. We were just there, I think, 2 weeks or 3 weeks old in Canada. So he saw these new immigrants, but he had been in Canada for many, many years. So he saw my wife, she was not wearing hijab. So he looked at very astonishing eyes. We were at a distance, so he did not come close to me, he just pointed me, come. So I told my wife, this man is our neighbor, let me go in. I do not know what he wants to say. So when I walked in, my wife was waiting with my 2 children behind. So I went to him, I said, his name, I'm not going to mention his name.
Yeah.
So he said, yeah, what do you want to say? He says, your wife is not wearing hijab. I said, yeah, I can see it. He says, no, she must wear hijab. I said, yeah, she's an adult woman. She is a mother of 2 children. She knows what to do, what not to do. Then one evening he said, you can beat her up. And he quoted a verse from Quran. وَضْرِبُوهُنَّ there is a verse in the Holy Quran. And I got very upset with him. I said, no, that's not it means. Tell me when Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, beat up his wives. Never. He loved his wife. He loved his daughter. How can you say these things? So this is where the problem is, that people, just like people, there are fanatics who misinterpret Bible, verses from the Bible, and justify slavery, justify hate against other people, justify hate against women. There are Muslims also who misinterpret the verses of Quran and say you can beat up your wife. I said, absolutely, it's a criminal. You cannot beat up your wife. She is an equal person in the family and she has equal rights. Yes, if I disagree with my wife, I will explain my disagreement. She can explain her disagreement, but we can talk rather than become violent to each other. So there's no superiority, gender-based superiority in Islam. We are all equal, and superiority is based upon honesty and piety and God fear. Who is more consciousness of God. That's what it is.
And so women choose whether or not they wear a hijab?
Yes, this is their choice. Yes, in the Holy Quran it is mentioned that women should cover their head, but Quran says that father should be educating their daughters and sons also about the Islamic way of life. But husband or father or brothers have no right to force their sister or daughter or wife. No, we cannot force. We can talk, we can educate. Now it's up to the person, a woman, whether she's a daughter or wife or sister, to choose, because every person is accountable to God. My wife, when it comes to religion, my wife is accountable to God and I'm accountable to the same God. God will judge us, not we should judge each other. God should judge us and He will make a decision, not me.
So you've been involved with Connections for a long time, and it is a leadership program and multicultural, trying to leave a message with the students about how to be allies, how to debunk stereotypes, all that. What are your final thoughts or the final message you'd like to leave with our students?
My message is that please consider Muslims as a normal human beings. We are not looking for a special treatment. We are all Canadians, and Muslims are not looking for a special treatment. We are looking for equal treatment. We are all equal citizens. We are all equal human rights. We are all creation of one God who created all of us. We may have a different way of reaching to God. We may have a different color of skin. We may have a different ethnicity, but we are all loved by our God. Mm-hmm. God is very gracious. God is very merciful. Whenever we do anything as a Muslim, whether we eat food or drink water or start driving or go outside home, we always say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, in the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful. So we all need to show compassion towards each other. We all need to show mercy towards each other. We all need to understand each other. And this course, Connection 25, I always be very thankful to everybody, those who are conducting this course. is that it brings us as a human being together. Yes, we do have differences in belief. Yes, we do have a difference in our color of skin, but racism should not be a part of our society. We need to control, we need to minimize, we need to eliminate this racism, because I'm Muslim or is Christian or is Jews. We are all one people. And that's what God says in the Holy Quran. God says, كَانَ النَّاسُ أُمَّةٌ وَاحِدَةٌ, that all humanity is one nation. We divided ourselves. And God says, I divided you into different colors, different ethnicities, in order for you to recognize each other rather than hate each other. So we do have a color of skin different, we do have a different languages, we do have a different background. Those differences should not be creating hate among us. Those differences is only for recognition. That this is a First Nation people. This is a Muslim guy. This is a Christian person. This is a Jewish person. Those kind of identification is fine. But we are all human beings. And we are all together. And let's make this Canada as a place where it can be model for the rest of the world. I always say, I don't say this here. Whenever I travel outside Canada, I always say that Canada is the model society for the rest of the world, because we are all come from different parts of the world. I chose Canada to be my home, by the way. Carrie, you had no choice. You were born here.
I was.
So you were forced to be Canadian. I chose Canada to be my home. And that's why I'm not bringing Sharia law here, by the way. I came to Canada because I love the Constitution, I love the society, I love the laws. And that's why Canada is my adopted home. And we should be respecting the laws, and we should be following the laws. And let's make this cohesive society rather than divided society.
Thank you very much. Very powerful message, very powerful conversation, and having the difficult conversations. And remember that you, the students, are who can be the change that you want to see in the world.
Yeah.
You need to bring it back and apply to your own lives. How you can take Syed's message and make a change for your own community.